I know we've got a little bit of a traffic jam outside. Are you ready for your Sweet 16? Girls Night Out 16! 1,100 women, the largest to date. Give yourselves a round of applause. We gather tonight in sisterhood and comradeship, sharing stories, sharing our lives. Who is here tonight for the very first time? Let's welcome them into the night! It's Girls Night Out. We're gonna have fun. We're gonna laugh. We're gonna cry. We're gonna spend money because your husband's and boyfriend says it's okay.
Now 9.5, 9.5. I got 900, down 9.5.
And you don't need their permission anyway.
975, now 600, 600, now 6.25.
Doesn't matter how old you are, get it done. I went in for my initial mammogram in February. Nothing was found. Went back the following year in January, and they had found a 10 centimeter. So I was disappointed when they said, "You're fine, you can wait 3 more years to have another test."
Well, I was beginning my ordination year at Hebrew Union College in Cincinnati. Temple Anshe Emet was in Piqua, Ohio, a tiny little town north of Dayton. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of it. But they were excited to meet me. I was excited to meet them. They were perfectly lovely at Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year's, which was my first time visiting them. And understanding that I was still reclaiming my strength after 2 surgeries for breast cancer, 4 months of chemo, and several weeks of daily radiation, which was still sapping my time and energy. I don't know. I hate to think of going through daily radiation again. I just hated it because I felt like I was wasting my time, even though I wasn't. 10 days later at Yom Kippur, our traditional day of penitential prayer and fasting, I felt like we really connected. I was coming to understand what they wanted and needed from a rabbi and from our worship and learning time together. I was still bald from chemo, and I had a cute little hat that I wore in lieu of a yarmulke or a kippah, as you see me wearing now, because I had nothing to clip on. After resting for a while on Yom Kippur afternoon, I went back to the sanctuary for memorial and closing services. And after that, while removing my white robe, I realized that I had forgotten to put on my cute little hat. I'd been completely bald for several hours of worship without realizing it. At the break the fast afterwards, I apologized to everybody for the oversight, which I was very embarrassed about. They just looked at me with puzzled expressions and said, "We just thought that meant you liked us." So began an extraordinary, wonderful years in Piqua, several years, while I worked on my doctorate before and after ordination. And at Simchat Torah that year, our holiday celebrating our scriptural tradition, I danced with joy with the Torah scrolls, as that was my very last day of radiation, for which I received a certificate of congratulations from the staff at the hospital and mazel tovs all the way around from the congregation. I have been very fortunate to be part of wonderful and loving communities during some difficult and dark times in my life, and doubly fortunate to have a loving and caring husband in Don. But I sometimes wonder if I really had to go through all of this. The journey actually began 3 years earlier in the autumn of 95. I was recently returned from a life changing year in Israel, a requirement for all first year seminary students, and had been assigned to travel to Pittsburgh, of all places, as a High Holy Days assistant to Rabbi Jamie Gibson at Temple Sinai. It was there that I first felt the lump in my right breast. Now, I was always diligent about doing my breast exams every month in the shower, and this I knew was new and different. This was something that shouldn't be there. I went to my doctor, who sent me to a radiologist for ultrasounds, who sent me to a breast surgeon for a consult. None of them recommended surgery. The radiologist said, let's keep an eye on it. The surgeon said, I don't want to cut you up if I don't have to, so don't make me. Over and over again, I was told the same thing, and the lump did not go away. This went on for 2.5 years, and nobody was listening to me. At that point in the spring of 1998, we were forced to change our medical insurance. I know everybody has had that issue as well, which meant starting all over choosing doctors. This time, I got a doctor who heard me, a radiologist who said, it looks like it might have changed, and a surgeon who said, my job is to take out what doesn't belong there, and that doesn't belong there, so let's take it out. I will remember her kind and assuring eyes as I went under and later came out. She said she didn't think it looked like cancer, but test results would be back in a few days. Late that Friday afternoon, as I prepared for Sabbath services, she called and said, I don't want to have any information you don't have over the weekend, and it is cancer. We have to go back in and do another surgery to check the lymph glands. Fortunately, the nodes were clear and she got it all. And I was told that this was old lady cancer and that I was lucky because it was so slow growing. But the difficulties weren't over. I chose the most powerful chemo, which I knew would make me sick and bald. How many of you have gone through that? Absolutely, you know what I'm talking about. And did not wanting to eat anything. But I was playing the percentages to make sure the cancer was gone. But the oncologist I was assigned to was aloof and unhelpful. He didn't care to spend any time answering my questions about the chemo and my likely reaction to it. I wasn't happy at all. Fortunately, the dean of my college knew the head of oncology at the University of Cincinnati. She accepted me as a patient immediately and spent well over an hour on our first visit, answering my questions and allaying my fears. She also called that oncologist to set him straight on what I needed. Thanks to this wonderful person, Dr. Elise Lauer, I got through chemo and radiation as best I could. She kept me aware and thinking positively for the future. When I moved to Chicago, I also had good luck with the oncology department at Northwestern University. And of course, here, the ever wonderful and very thorough Dr. Mark Keating. Raise your hand if you know what I'm talking about. But again, I wonder, did I have to go through all of this? If my medical team had really listened to me in the fall of 95, or at any time in the 2.5 years after, could they have removed it before it was cancerous? Could they have gotten to it earlier than a stage 2, when I wouldn't have had to deal with chemo and radiation and 5 years of tamoxifen? I'll never know. But one thing I do know for sure is that I learned how to be my own best advocate, because nobody knows my body better than I do, and nobody is ever again going to tell me no. If there's anything I can leave you with tonight, and I'm sure you all know this, you have to make your voice heard and demand what you want. If it means better testing or a better doctor, get it. You have to be your own best advocate. This is one of the main reasons that I've been raising funds for breast cancer research and, God willing, a cure since the first autumn when I was still bald and still in radiation treatment. I don't want anyone to go through what I went through, what women are still going through to this day. There's got to be a better way, better testing, and better treatments. When I got out of the car for that first walk in Cincinnati in that same fall of 98, and I saw all the other people getting out of their cars and walking to the event, I burst into tears and I said to Don, they're walking for me. And they were. For me and you and you and you and everybody who has been touched by this disease. So if you've been touched in any way, patient, please stand up. Survivor or thriver, as I like to say, please stand up. friend, or caregiver, please, honestly, please stand up. Friend, caregiver. We are all in this together. And the fact that all of you have been holding this event for 16 years now, loving each other and supporting each other, you know that's true. The days are gone when we whispered the word cancer behind our hands because it was a dirty word that nobody wanted to hear. We shout it out now as we work to erase it from our lives. Thank you for taking care of yourselves and each other, and thank you for having me join you. Good night.
Be your own advocate. Next, make welcome to the stage a fighter. Please make welcome Holly Erger.
Wow, it's so quiet. Well, good evening. I wanted to let you know that I'm excited to be here and I'm humbled to be here to tell you my story. When you're a cancer survivor, you have an additional date etched in your memory, much like your social security number or children's birth dates, heights, and weights. It's your cancerversary. For most survivors, this is the day of diagnosis. Much like September 11th, you will never forget where you were or what you were doing when you get a phone call hearing the words, "You have cancer." For me, it was Friday, February 13th, 2015 at 2:03 p.m. and it was at my place of work. Yep, you heard that right, Friday the 13th. Superstitious people would have stayed in bed, pulling the covers over their heads in fear of something bad happening, believing that if they remained in bed, the curse simply wouldn't stand a chance of coming true. I should have been one of those people that stayed in bed. This wasn't supposed to be my life. It was only my first mammogram. It was January of 2015. Normally, I would have had my yearly exam in June with the gynecologist, but the previous June I had begun a new job, and my kids had after-school activities that I didn't want to miss. So I had rescheduled the June appointment for January. Let's fast forward to that appointment. After my exam, she noticed that I had just turned 40 years old. I had literally been 40 for an entire week. After my exam, she gave me an order for the mammogram and informed me that they had an office on the lower level of the building that did mammograms. It was about 4:45 p.m. that day, and they closed at 4 p.m. My doctor called them to let them know that I would be coming. I'd heard how painful it was, how embarrassing it was, and awkward, and how terrible things were gonna be, and how my breasts would be squeezed until they nearly popped. And truly, it just went against my long-term standing policy of not letting someone play with the girls unless they bought me dinner first. But I went to the mammogram. So there I was, the last patient of the day, showing up 10 minutes prior to closing. I was expecting a stinker of a short-tempered staff, crappy treatment at the office due to the lack of an appointment and walking in directly before closing. Being a new patient, having to do paperwork and, have them check my insurance and all that stuff. However, I was pleasantly surprised to learn that those ladies at the Conemaugh Breast Care Center could not have been more welcoming, calming, supportive, and lovely. The only thing that would have made it better was if they had served wine. The technologist handed me the gown and told me to put on my superhero cape. Little did she or myself know, for that matter, just how important those words would be. She walked me through every step and performed my mammogram. When the mammogram was over, she informed me of all the reasons why women get called back for another mammogram. I felt good and thought nothing of it. I have no family history of anything and take pretty good care of myself. I thanked her for being so gracious and won a sticker that said, "I got my boobs squeezed today," like the ones that they give you when you vote. But I was told they don't exist, sadly. I learned that the vast majority of mammogram versions get called back because the radiologist has nothing to compare the pictures to and doesn't know that if what they are seeing is normal for you. So when I got the call 2 days later for a more magnified view, I didn't think anything of it. As it turned out, I now needed a diagnostic mammogram because they saw something suspicious in my left breast. That something suspicious was a cluster of calcifications that caused the concern. While my husband and I were preparing for the annual Fireman's Dinner Dance happening on Valentine's Day weekend, remember this was Friday the 13th, my biopsy was done on a Thursday, February 12th, and the dance was the following Saturday. I was told that 80% of these calcification clusters come back benign, and my breast surgeon felt strongly that I was in that 80%. She told me that the biopsy results wouldn't be in until Monday or Tuesday of the following week. I did my best to not let my nerves get to me and was determined to enjoy the dance coming up. I got up for work the next day and told myself that the Friday the 13th curse wouldn't faze me and led myself to believe I could escape it. However, that unforgettable day, I got the call at work. The breast surgeon on the other side said, "My dear Holly, I am so shocked and so sorry to tell you, but you have breast cancer. Blah, 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 blah." My ears knew that she was still speaking and that I needed to listen, but my brain couldn't absorb anything past, "You have breast cancer." I started to cry, and when I realized that she was done speaking, all I could hear were my sobs. I asked if she could please repeat herself. Still, I heard nothing more in her words other than I had breast cancer. I hung up the phone and cried uncontrollably. The loud wails came without discreetness or grace. It was total ugly crying. I called my husband immediately and we decided to drive to their office to get more information so he could be my second set of ears. To our dismay, they were closed by the time we got there. We waited the whole weekend until we got answers to our questions. Needless to say, we didn't attend that dance. So there I was, a 40-year-old, 5 foot tall, 0 inches, mother and CEO of 2 adolescent children, wife, sister, daughter, aunt, friend, neighbor, cook, maid, and district manager assistant who was now forced to add cancer patient to my many titles. I was angry at how my life had changed. I was hurt and confused. I didn't understand. I asked why me about 1 million times. It wasn't fair. I have never smoked, ate healthy, well, most of the time, and tried to live as God would like me to. I was now being thrown into a foreign territory to navigate, and I suddenly felt very alone. A whirlwind of further tests was immediately performed. I had to endure an MRI to be certain that the cancer had not spread to my lymph nodes or anywhere else. The worry, distress, and torment I experienced while not knowing practically killed me. Once I received the results and knew what I was facing exactly and what plan of action was right for my cancer, it was time to bestow my game face. I was scheduled for a lumpectomy and learned that my cancer was mostly estrogen, but also progesterone fed. My husband and I had to tell my 14-year-old daughter and 12-year-old son that I had breast cancer. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done. With a few tears, they had several questions, and some were very hard to swallow, let alone answer. Now, I should mention here that if I had kept my appointment in June for my yearly pap smear, I would not have been 40 years old yet. I would not have gotten my order for a mammogram because of medical insurance reasons. I had no breast cancer history in my background to get one early, and I wasn't having any issues to warrant a mammogram in June when I was only 39. So if I had waited until the following June to get my mammogram instead of January, who knows how things would have turned out. My cancer could not be felt. It wasn't a lump. The mammogram was the only thing that could detect it. My cancer is called DCIS, ductal carcinoma in situ, which means that it was caught early and it did not break out of the milk duct. Because of that, I did not need to have chemo. I did, however, have 37 radiation treatments, including 2 booster treatments, that burned my skin something terrible. I lived my days attending work braless and doing my treatments over my lunch break and eating my lunch in the car while driving back to work because I was determined that cancer was not going to win. I was determined to live as normal as possible for my family. One day, while waiting in the grocery line, a woman commented on the pink color in my hair. And when I told her about the reasoning behind it, she asked how my chemo treatments were because she knew someone who had an awful time with it. When I told her that I didn't need chemo, she said to me, "Well, at least you got the easy cancer." Even though I knew what she was trying to say, I immediately got pissed. I was infuriated, and her comment left quite a sting. Nothing about my breast cancer was easy. It was real, it was scary, it was tough, it was lonely, it was exhausting. The tests, needles, poking, prodding, worry, fatigue, loneliness, surgeries, scars, raw burned skin, stress, blood counts, and white coats were very, very real. I was left with no authority over modesty anymore. In fact, I almost felt famous with the breasts that everyone wanted to see. The mental and physical changes my body underwent were and still are very challenging to accept at times. I'm still learning to accept the physical scars and doing my best to heal the inside too. I'm reminded every time I take a bath or change my clothes that I had cancer. I tell myself that the balance and the unbalance that I'm left with provide character. At least that's what I try to tell myself. I have shown my ladies to more eyes than I have ever imagined. Although there are inevitable dark days where I sometimes reflect and mourn the loss of my old self, I'm proud of the person I am, the survivor. I have gained superhuman strength and determination, and I have learned what is truly important and what is not at all, and what I thought it was, isn't. Part of that important stuff got me thinking that God is trying to use me as a vessel for some reason, and I need to do something with my journey. So in 2016, I wanted to pay forward the love and support I was showered with and formed a group called Holly's Heroes with the American Cancer Society. And we proudly raised over $7,000 for breast cancer research that summer. Thank you. I found that I now live in increments of baby steps and baby breaths, trying to live each second while waiting to get through the next round of needles, checks, scans, and tests with good news, and feeling utterly sick until I get that relief. Every ache, bump under my skin, or twinge of pain my body exhibits causes me endless worry. I've had some scares come up in these 9 years, and areas of concern that continue to be monitored, as well as biopsies. I had a benign tumor show up in December of 2021 in the same breast that was diagnosed. And all I could think was that my cancer came back. And I was sick with worry until getting those results. I also had a biopsy of a tumor found on my liver in January of 2023. I now hug my loved ones tighter. I laugh with my soul. I savor the tastes. I am awestruck with the sights. I drink the wine. I soak in the smells. I watch the sunsets. I live in the now. I put pink in my hair. I live with my whole heart and feel to my bones. I am truly grateful to so very many for the grace, support, and encouragement. I still cry when I think of everyone and their kindness that I was flooded with. My husband, children, parents, siblings, and family, for their endless love, financial support for the endless medical bills still coming in, hand-holding, cheerleading, attendance at appointments, salon trips to get my hair fixed because I couldn't lift my arm to do it myself, shopping sprees in search of scarves and soft shirts that could be worn without a bra and not interfere with my stitches, bandages, and radiation burns, my neighbors and closest friends, for the daily meals beginning every single day. They made these meals for me beginning on the day of diagnosis until the end of my treatment. My medical team of surgeons, oncologists, nutritionists, nurses, phlebotomists, and radiation technicians who took the time to connect with me as a human being while caring for me with compassion, wisdom, and kindness. If I couldn't find my Superwoman cape that day, for some reason, on a difficult day, they were there to wipe the tears. My beautician for pinking out my hair, helping to make me feel powerful and in control. I feel I can look breast cancer square in the eye and say, nice try, but cancer, you can suck it. I'm grateful for the many survivor sisters I have gained. The courage I have has come from their foundational inspiration. These women are a continuous source of strength for me. I later underwent surgery in November of 2018 for a radical hysterectomy, including ovaries and everything. You know, there's no oven left anymore, it's gone. Due to severe side effects and issues caused by the tamoxifen medication I had to take for my cancer. And my army of beautiful people stepped right up to the plate to help take care of me all over again. And my sisterhood was there with open arms of support. Lastly, I'm grateful to cancer, instead of taking my life, taught me what it's like to really live. Go do what your heart says, my friends. Be bold, be loud, be spontaneous, take that chance, buy that thing, eat the cake, drink the wine, sing a song, even if somebody's watching. Don't say I should have, say I did. Be humble and do things you're scared to do. Feel your feelings. Smile when the sun shines on your face and in your eyes. Live in the moment. Tonight, as I tell every woman in this room to get those life-saving mammograms, I want to also let you know that if you get that punch in the gut phone call like I did, I will walk the storm with you. I may not be able to stop the storm, but I will hold an umbrella while walking it beside you. You don't have to be alone and go in that foreign land to navigate by yourself. Tonight, I celebrate the fact that I got out of bed this morning, that I am still healing, and that I am surrounded by courage, sisterhood, and a few of the soldiers in my army, my heroes. If you see tears sneaking down my cheeks tonight, don't mistake them for weakness. They're the tears of a survivor. Thank you.
Thank you, Holly. I promised everybody we would cry tonight, so we got that part done.
100% volunteer ran organization. We are and we will always be good stewards of every single donor dollar. We make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give. Be a giver.